Hello everybody. Where did our time go? One of the most profound changes in our society has been the workplace. Products are developed in other countries at a cheaper price, and there's fewer good jobs in the US. Technology allows fewer people to do the jobs of others, and firms can hire fewer people with fewer benefits to produce similar products. Employee pay as well has largely remained constant over the last 40 years, which is an ominous sign for those seeking the American dream. The American dream being a higher standard of living than your parents had and their parents had. Of all these changes, one of the most difficult has been the requirement that we spend more time at work and less in leisure in order to have a chance for a good job and a good life. In pre-capitalistic Europe, work was often intermittent, called to a halt for breakfast, lunch, the customary afternoon nap, and dinner. In the 17th century, and probably since the beginning of time, workers were accustomed to hard labor, but also to enjoying periods of idleness. There were 50 or 60 religious holidays each year, in addition to the traditional weekly day of rest. This works in an agricultural society, but then the number of holidays decreased substantially following industrialization. In 1840, the average hours worked per week was 27 hours a week. Today, it's 47 hours a week in the U.S., almost 40 in England and 41 in Japan. Consequently, the amount of leisure time for Americans has dropped 40% over the last 20 years. Both spouses have to work, and the one-earner middle-class family is becoming extinct. From about 30 hours per week in the mid-1960s, the amount of parent-child interaction has dropped to about 10 hours a week. There's more options, and we want it all. We want to exercise, make souffle for dinner, relax in front of the television, play with the new computer, and also spend time with our children and friends. An example of the importance of time, consider the hamburger stand. In France, there's the Sidewalk Cafe, which is a place where people can go to eat, relax, and talk things over without worrying about what time it is, without having to leave as soon as the food's eaten. In China, they have what's called the tea house, which is a real social institution where families and friends drop in for tea and light food. Here, you're important, so you relax and enjoy yourself, even for hours. In the United States, if time-saving devices really save time, there would be more time available to us now, probably more than any time in history. But strangely enough, we seem to have less time than even a few years ago, and that's affected the lives that we lead. To lead the more productive, fulfilling, and worthwhile life, we should be better at managing our time. We certainly have more demands. We can't do much about that. But we can with how we spend our time. We can manage our time better and therefore have more time for the idle, often unimportant pursuits, but one that add great value to our lives. In reality, as we all know, we manage time because we want to do something with our time. Unless you have time, you have really no reason to organize yourself because you have nowhere to go and nothing to accomplish. It then makes no difference how long anything takes. In reality, though, if we manage our time better, we can live a much more fulfilling and active life. So there's a couple strategies that I would propose to better manage your time so that you can really do with your life what you want to do. First is get rid of the useless tasks and activities. Ask yourself, do I really need to do this? Why does this need to be done? What is the value of what I'm doing? We tend to do things out of routine, even out of order. But in fact, they don't add much value to the workplace or to the home place either. I can't tell you how many things in the workplace I've eliminated because I look at a report and say, does anybody do anything with this report? What action is taken once we do this summary? You find out that not much. Second is to use small amounts of time, probably the most important skill that you can use. This is 5 minutes before you leave to work, 5 minutes when you come home. Sitting in front of the television, you can answer a mail letter that receives. 5 minutes here and there works up to 50 minutes a day, which works up to 4 and 5 hours a week, which is a considerable amount of time considering we only have so few hours during the week. Small amounts of time is important. 3 is to use a telephone rather than emails, even texting. Not only does a telephone build relationships, which is lost today, but there's very little lost in translation when you use a telephone as opposed to texting or emails. It takes time to email and text, and then you often have to correct yourself or reiterate yourself through another text, another email. Telephone is a great mechanism to communicate. Lastly is to do the most important thing that you have to do first. When you start the day, do the most important tasks. Therefore, and thereafter, when something happens and your time is consumed, you know that you've at least accomplished the most important thing that you had to do. Time is the mechanism that allows you to achieve your ambitions, and the better use of time, the better chance you have of achieving something great. Use your time wisely, and you may just be able to use your life wisely as well. Thanks, and have a great day.